Hello students, welcome back to Tuition Masters, and today we are here with Great in Biology session number 1 for the chapter Control and Coordination. So this is your chapter number 2 of biology and chapter number 7 in NCERT. So in a previous chapter we studied about life processes, isn't it? And we did what is digestion, respiration, transportation, excretion. I'll put it above in the link section, and in the I icon you will be able to find all the videos related to life processes. So today we're starting with a new chapter, brand new chapter, very exciting chapter, that is control and coordination. So let's see what are we going to study in this chapter. So in our today's session, basically I know it's a little bit vast chapter, so we'll go step by step. In more 3 to 4 classes we are going to complete this chapter. So see, today we are going to learn about the nervous system, components of nervous system, and impulse transmissions. That's it. Now what else we have in this chapter? We have brain, like the brain. What is the structure? Forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain, spinal cord, reflex action, types of reflex action, peripheral nervous system. Then we will understand about hormonal coordination in humans, our endocrine glands, coordination plants, the movements in plants, tropic and nastic, and plant hormones. So this is a little bit long topic, but we are going to cover it easily, right? So let's start with the first topic. Before the students, make sure you like this video, share it with your friends, and even subscribe to the channel. So let's start with the nervous control. What is all of this? So let's start with a very basic thing. Now students, in each and every day of our life we do so many activities, right? Sometimes we are running from our home to school, we are jumping in activities, we are singing, we are talking, right? We are doing yoga, meditation, sleeping, writing, studying, so many things we do in our everyday life, isn't it? Now, how does it happen? When I talk about that, brain comes in the picture. What is brain? We know brain is the master controller, isn't it? Brain is the organ which is in charge of these things and a lot more things. It's the master controller. Brain is the thing which controls our five senses, isn't it? And we get to do all the activities by the brain, isn't it? That's the main center, headquarter it is, isn't it? Now brain, it receives information from all the senses and making it possible for us to experience the outside world, right? So brain is the like the organ through which all the senses give its information. Like if you read a question, if with your eyes, when you read a question, so that question goes in the brain. Now brain finds an answer, what is it, and then if you know the answer, you immediately write it, isn't it? That is what brains help us to do, isn't it? Now in human beings, where is brain? We all know, super easy question. A brain is located in the top, in the skull, correct, in a bony box known as what? Known as the cranium. So in the skull there is a bony box, a box kind of structure known as cranium. So brain is within that cranial cavity. You might have said what is cranium, skull, everything in your younger standards, isn't it? Now what is the function? Everything is the function, like thinking, sensing anything. When anyone touches you, so you get to know that someone touched you. How is it? Due to your skin sends an what you can say, the touch, this the touch feeling, your skin, your tissues give a signal to brain that someone is touching, right? Then our emotion, mood swings, the behavior we do. Sometimes we are very angry, sometimes we are very happy, sometimes we are fighting. So that behavior, then our movements, all of this is controlled by the brain, isn't it? Now next part is spinal cord. Now, what is spinal cord? Spinal cord and brain. You may think that why am I doing in brain and came to spinal cord? Why is it so? Because spinal cord, that is the thing in our body which helps the brain to do control and coordination in our human body efficiently, so that our brain can perform all the things nicely and efficiently. What happens is spinal cord is in use. So brain is, as I said, the head office of the body, and spinal cord is the branch office. The main center is the brain, and the brain has interconnection with the spinal cord also. So what does spinal cord do? It gives its best to carry out some simpler activities without disturbing the brain. So what happens? See, if this is the if firstly, if there is any problem, you go to your teacher, isn't it? You go to your teacher. Now a small problems, you go to teacher. If there is very major problem, then you go to the principal, isn't it? So that way, teacher is your spinal cord. Spinal cord is like a teacher. Whatever simple things are there, little bit easy task are that a spinal cord will do itself without disturbing the brain. That is the principle. So if there is anything major in the body, so that time spinal cord is going to ask the brain, what should I do? Correct. So similarly, whenever you go into a bank, so if there is any problem, you contact the nearby branch, isn't it, for small problems. But if they cannot also do it, then you go to the main head office. So that is why spinal cord is also that branch office, like the teacher, and brain is the uh, boss, head office. All right. Now, when I join brain and spinal cord, what do I get? So basically, in our human body, we have two types of nervous system: central as well as peripheral, CNS and PNS. So when I join brain and spinal cord, brain plus spinal cord gives me CNS, central nervous system. So brain and spinal cord together, they make up the central nervous system. Now, what is the central nervous system? So, talking about spinal cord, it is a spongy tissue, a soft tissue present in the hollow cavity in the backbone of vertebral column. Now, basically, you can say it's a kind of nerve, isn't it? It's a kind of nerve. So it cannot be openly. If it would be open, it can get damaged. So it is present in our backbone. Okay, in our backbone, in our vertebral column, this spinal cord is present for the uh, control coordination, isn't it? And backbone protects it in the hollow cavity. You see here, this is the vertebral body. This is my backbone, isn't it? This is my backbone, and inside the hollow spaces, the spinal cord is there for protection. Now, whenever you wish to address a pain in the back, remember that is the backbone of vertebral column that's paining, not the spinal cord. So spinal cord never, it doesn't pain because it has a good covering out. So whenever you have back pain in your body, right? So that back pain is due to your bones are paining, not the spinal cord. Okay. So that was all about our nervous system. Now let's see what are the components of nervous system. So components, we know nervous system is there, but what are the components? Let's understand about that also. All right. So, as I said, now let's understand about the various components. Now, first one are the sense organs. Okay, sense organs. We know we have five sense organs: smell, which is done with the nose, correct? Then hearing, tasting, seeing anything, feeling, with all our five organs. That is our nose, then our ears, then the tongue for taste, then eyes for seeing, and feeling with our skin. But the question comes. The main question comes is, how do these organs work, isn't it? How do these organ works? How do the sense organ actually like function, right? So basically there are something known as receptor cells. Okay, now these senses are based on the receptor cells. Okay, so receptor means it's any structure which is specialized to detect the stimulus. You know what is a stimulus? Response to stimuli, right? So stimuli means any action. Okay, and how do you respond to it? For example, if you touch anything hot, the basic example, if you touch anything hot, you quickly take your hand away. Why? Because that the touching is a stimuli, and removing the hand is the response to it. Okay, so for vision, hearing, and then smell, taste, touch, all of these have their own receptors. Now they have specific names also. So the smell, for detecting smell, we have the olfactory receptors present in the nose. Now for the taste, we have the gustatory receptors in the tongue. Then for detecting temperature and touch, we have thermoreceptors in the skin. Then for seeing the things, for vision, we have the optic receptors in the eyes. And similarly, we have the auditory receptors for hearing in the ears. Okay, so these are the five: nose, olfactory, tongue gustatory, skin thermo, then eyes optic, and in the ears auditory. So these are the five receptors we have in our body. All right. Now, how do they work? Now, these receptor cells, they carry information from our sense organs to the brain. So the in the eye we have the optic, correct? We have the optic receptor, correct? So that takes the sensory input by the sensory neuron, then it gets integrated and goes to the brain and spinal cord in the central nervous system, right? Now, I mentioned here neuron. Now, what is this neuron? You all guys might have studied in your ninth standard about neurons in the chapter tissues, isn't it? So, neuron is nothing but this. Now, the question with neuron comes is these receptors. How do they give the information to the brain? Correct. If I touch anything hot, the brain says to remove it. How does that we are touching hot? How does it goes to the brain? That is my question. So basically, neurons, as we know, they are what? They are nothing but connective tissues, isn't it? Sorry, not connective tissue, I'm really sorry, not connective, they are the nervous tissue. It is the part of nervous tissue, isn't it? It is for the impulse transmission. So neuron, they are nerve cells, and they are the structure and functional unit of brain. Like cell is a structure function unit of our body, similarly neurons are structure and functional unit of the brain, and they help in carrying the information from these receptors and other parts to the brain. Now, what is this neuron? How does it looks like? So let me explain you with a rough diagram first. Okay, then I'm going to show you the other diagram. So it's important that you know how to draw a rough diagram for your exams as well. So let's say how we'll do. Firstly, I'll show you how you draw a neuron. Right, rough diagram. I'll just show you. So you can make such U kind of structures, isn't it? You can make some U kind of structures, then make it this way and like this. Then it will go like this and here. Okay. So let me explain you. Now, let's do our labeling. Now, before going ahead, we know that it is a cell, so it will have a nucleus in the middle, correct? There's a nucleus, and there are some additional things also. Okay, now what I'll do is now let's try to label them. Let's try to label these things. So let's start. So, first one, these endings which you can see, these endings, right? What are they known as? They are known as dendrites. They are known as the dendrites. I'm going to explain the function also one by one, right? They are known as the dendrites. After that, this is what we all know. This is my nucleus, isn't it? It's my nucleus. Now this whole structure, right? This whole structure, I'm just doing it roughly, then I'll erase it. This whole structure, the head part, right? That entire structure is known as the cyton. Okay, it's known as the cyton or the cell body. It is the cell body. Okay, now coming ahead, this tube which you can see, this tube which I've marked with yellow, right? This tube is known as the axon. Okay, it is the one which carries the impulse through. Okay, now what are these things? These things are my axon endings. Okay, you can say it as axon ending or nerve ending. Both are the same things. Now, ma'am, there are two. You will say that what are these things? Now, they are known as, these two things are known as the myelin sheath. Okay, they are made of a substance known as myelin. Okay, and it is acts as an insulator so that the impulse doesn't leaks out of the axon. Right. So these are the myelin sheath. Now there's one more part. Now in between two myelin sheath, the space between them, right, that is known as the node nodes of Ranvier. Okay, nodes of Ranvier is the space between two myelin sheaths. Okay, so this is your neuron. You can draw such a rough diagram. All right, so let me explain the functions now. So here you see. So let's understand about their functions. First one is dendrites. What are dendrites? They are these tentacle kind of thing which receive information from the environment or from the neurons. Okay, so dendrites are the one which take the information. Okay, information comes here, okay, through the other neurons or other receptors. Next comes this cell body, which is also known as cyton. Okay, it helps in the activities of neuron, and now it has every organelles, but it doesn't have centrosome. Apart from centrosome, it has all organ. It has endoplasmic reticulum, mitochondria, all of those things are present. Okay, apart from centrosome, everything is present in the cell body. Next is this tube-like structure known as axon. Now, when I talk about axon, it's a stem-like tube-like structure, and it receives information from cell body and transfers it to the nerve ending. So it is like the road for transforming information. So from the cell body, the information goes through the axon in the nerve ending. Okay, so there is no specific function of axon, right? It does transports the information. Now, nerve ending, also known as axon ending, they are these hair-like structures that transfer information to the corresponding neuron. Whichever neuron is connected over here, it will give the information. Now, as I said, we have few more things, that is myelin sheath. Now, what is it? Some of the axons, it's not like every axon, but some of axons, like some of the neurons, are covered with the myelin. What is myelin? It's a fatty material that wraps around the axon and makes a myelin sheath. So these sheets are made up of myelin. Okay, that's a fatty material made up of adipose. Now, this is an external coating as an insulation, okay, to minimize dissipation of the electrical signal that travels down the axon, so that when this it is going when it's going by chance it doesn't leaks down. Correct. So to avoiding that, the myelin sheath is used. Okay, now these periodic gaps in the myelin sheath, when these two this areas where the myelin sheath is not there, so between two myelin sheath, the space, that node, is known as the nodes of Ranvier. All right. Now, there are three types of neurons: sensory, association, and motor. Now, when I talk about sensory neuron, they carry the impulse from the receptor cell or organ to the brain or spinal cord. Okay, so from the organs or the receptors, they take it to the CNS. Okay, any part of CNS, it can be brain also or spinal cord. Association. Association, what does it do? It acts as a bridge or a relay center. It carries impulse from sensory to motor. Okay, now sensory doesn't directly give it. Okay, so what happened? It goes through the association. So what happened? This sensory association in the middle. Here is motor and here is sensory. So sensory will give information to association, and association will pass it to motor neuron. Then what does motor neuron do? It carries the info from brain or spinal cord to the cell and organ. Effector cell. Receptor cell means which is receiving something. Okay, effector cell means that it is getting something from the brain or the spinal cord. So sensory, it will take the impulse from the receptors and give it to CNS. Association, it will connect sensory and motor. And motor, it's going to get the information from brain or spinal cord and give it to the organ, whichever necessary. Okay, that are the types of neurons. Now, there are some types of nerves also. First one, again, sensory, motor, and mixed. So, sensory nerves, they only have sensory fibers which bring impulses from the receptors rather as sense organs. Like we have optic nerve, auditory nerve, olfactory nerve. So all those things are present in our five sensory organs. So the nerves present in our in our five sense organs, they are known as sensory nerves. For example, optic nerve in the eyes, correct, because that's the optic receptor. So it's present in the eye. Olfactory, it's present in the nose. Gustatory in the tongue. All right. Now, motor nerve. What is motor nerve? Motor nerve, they contain only motor fibers which carry impulses from the brain or spinal cord to effector organs and bring them into action. So, motor cell. Motor cell, what they do? Here you see what is the motor neuron. It takes from brain spinal cord to effector cell. So what do? They contain the motor fibers which carry the impulse from brain and spinal cord, the same function. Okay. Now example, nerve which arises from the brain and supplying the muscles of the eyeball. Okay. Whenever you see something, right? Whenever you see something, you can, if you have already seen that, you will immediately, like, if you see a pen, you will immediately, yeah, that is a pen. How? Because the eye take that image through the motor nerves to the brain, right? Brain says that, acha, this is your pen, you can recognize it, so the brain sends it. So that is the motor nerve. Now, mixed nerve means they contain both sensory as well as motor. Okay, so for example, spinal nerves. Spinal, they will have motor also. Motor nerves are connected and even sensory. So when both of them are connected, it makes up a mixed nerve. Okay. So as I said, neuron, what is the function? They transfer impulse from outside environment to brain or spinal cord. So they take information. Okay, they take information and give it to the brain and spinal cord. If it is easy measy chota mota sa work, then it will give it to spinal cord. But if some important major problem is happening in the body, then it will go to the brain. Okay, now coordination between brain and spinal cord and other organs, it does the coordination. It is basically the monitor, helps in this thing also, bringing that thing to the brain, to the teacher, that way. Okay. Nerves. What do they do? Nerve is a bundle of nerve fibers. Nerve fibers are known as axons of separate neurons, and they're enclosed in a tubular sheath. So these nerves are they're wholly covered with a sheath. Okay, so connective tissue. Then we have the veins, arteries, nerve. Then these are my neurons, and you have the myelin sheath in the axons. Now, nerves as another very thread, like they're very, very, they're not very thick, they're so thin. They're thread like white structures which emerge from the brain and spinal cord and branch out to almost all parts of the body, right? In all the parts of the body, all the parts, we have the nerves everywhere. Throughout the body we have the nerves, isn't it? So brain, spinal cord makes the CNS, ganglia and nerves make up the peripheral nervous system. We are going to do ahead. All right, now, what is impulse transmission? That is an important thing. Let me explain you. Impulse transmission means that how does impulse, that is the electrical signal, how do they get transmitted from one place to another? So the information transmitted along the neuron and throughout the nervous system is called impulse. So that information which is going on, no, from its taking or giving, that is known as the impulse. Okay, that is known as the impulse. Okay, or the nerve impulse. You can see this highlighted thing, you can see that is nothing but the, that colored thing you can see, that is nothing but the impulse. Okay, those are the electrical signals. Now, nerve impulses, they travel very quickly because they're electrical in nature. Electricity, how it flows quickly, that is how the nerve impulses also travel, because they're electrical. So from dendrites they receive, and from the axon it goes down to the nerve ending, right? So what happens is nerve impulses travel from one neuron to another with the help of synapses. What is synapses? It is the point of communication between two neurons or between a neuron and a target cell, like muscle or gland. So basically, whenever I have two neurons, the space between them is known as a synapse. Here you see, this is my neuron number 1, this is neuron number 2. The space between them, this space is known as the synapse, right? Now similarly, if this is this is a muscle fiber, and this is my axon, I mean the dendrites are there, so that place where there is a little bit of space, that is known as synapse. So there can be a synapse between two neurons also, or a neuron and a target cell. Okay, now inside the axon terminal, inside axon of a sending cell, there are many synaptic vesicles. Okay, many synaptic vesicles. Now these are membrane bound spheres filled with neurotransmitter molecules. Now in the neuron only this entire structure is there, in this part. Okay, in this part you can see these are the presynaptic neurons, right? Then there are postsynaptic neurons, where the pre post, before and after. Then this is axon terminal, synaptic vesicle. Then there's a cleft, neurotransmitters. All of these things are present in the neuron. Outside it looks so simple, right? But inside it has a very detailed structure. There are these vesicles which help in the transmission. It's not that easy that whenever you touch and you feel hot, it happens quickly in fraction of seconds, right? Or if it would not happen, you will be touching. Okay, you will wait. Oh, I got her. It is okay, burning. Okay, now I'll remove. It will take so much time. It would be very inappropriate. So when you ever touch, you immediately get hot and you remove it. That's how fast it goes, right? Now, talking about neurotransmitter, as I said, these synapses are filled with neurotransmitter molecules. Now, neurotransmitters, they are chemical messengers like acetylcholine, then dopamine. All of these are the chemical messengers known as neurotransmitters. What is their job? They transmit neurotransmitter, right? है ना? So they transmit signal from the nerves to the target cell, neuron or nerves to the target cell wherever it has to go. Now, this target cells may be in the muscle glands or other nerves also. Now, it only to the target cell it goes. It doesn't like when you're touching hot. So it will carry it to the hand that you have to remove it. It will not happen that your leg will get aside, right? So whenever you get hot, whenever you touch, so you get hot, you remove that part only. You will not remove your you will not look your eyes up or something else. That is due to your neurons are taking that specific signal to that specific cell. They are very accurate, isn't it? Now, inside this axon terminal of a sending cell, there are many synaptic vessels. Okay, there are many, not only one. Now, as I said, they are membrane bound spheres and they have neurotransmitters in them. Now, there's a small, tiny gap between the axon terminal and presynaptic neuron and even the membrane of postsynaptic cell. Now, this gap is called as the synaptic, known as the synaptic cleft. So the space between the axon terminal and, see, this part I'll do with the highlight and explain. This yellow part, okay, this yellow part is my, what it is, the axon terminal, isn't it? Now this green part is my, okay, wait, I'll erase it, I'll do it a little bit down. Now this green part is my postsynaptic cell. Now between them I can see there are some spaces where the molecules are there. That is the synaptic cleft. Okay, that is synaptic cleft where there's a little bit of place and then the molecules drop. Okay, now when nerve impulses, they arrive at the axon terminal. Acha, now it came, now okay, it's coming to the axon terminal. Then they come to the synaptic vessels and fuse with the axon terminal membrane. And they release neurotransmitter, means those chemicals, right? And into the synaptic cleft. So what happens is, it first the whatever impulse is there. Okay, the impulse, it will first come to the axon terminal. Correct, axon terminal. I'm writing in short. Then it goes to the synaptic vesicle, sorry, and then it fuses with the terminal and it goes into the synaptic cleft. So that is how the impulse is carried. Now, these molecules of neurotransmitter, they diffuse, okay, they mix across the synaptic cleft and bind to receptors on postsynaptic neuron dendrites. So postsynaptic means it's on the other. Okay, so if this is one of my neuron, isn't it? This is one of my neuron. Okay, I'm drawing it very roughly. Okay, this is one of my neuron. It is connected like this to the other neuron. Okay, with the dendrites of other neuron. Correct. Sorry, it's connected to the dendrites of other neuron. So this here is my presynaptic. Okay, this is my presynaptic. On the other neuron, there will be postsynaptic. So that information will be carried through this. It will go here, then the process, it will go at the axon terminal, then to synaptic vessel and fuse with the neurotransmitters, and those transmitters will send it to the second neuron. Okay, so this is the way the nerve impulses reaches the target cell, like the muscles or the glands. Okay, that is how it goes. Synapses, when I say, they act like wave walls. Okay, they act like walls. At a synapse, the neurotransmitter is present on one side, and okay, as a result, the nerve impulse can move only in one direction. It can, now basically it's only on one side of the cap. It's not both. You can go up, down, anything. And no, it's on one side only. So that's why it can go in one direction. Either you go up, either you come down. So that's why neurotransmitters are very important. Okay, now, so the last part, within a single neuron, information, it will be conducted through electrical signaling. So when a neuron is stimulated, an electric impulse called action potential moves along the neuron axon. So this potential then enables signal to travel very rapidly along neuron fiber. So entire structure quickly goes to the other part. Okay, so that is how you get impulses. That's how you do. Now I explained you this long, right? Does it take this much long? No, it happens within fraction of seconds, right? So we have completed with the today's session. Let's summarize quickly. So we understood that when I talk about brain, so brain is the most important part of the organ. I mean, most important organ, correct? And it controls all the activities in the human body. Now, brain and spinal cord, they make together the central nervous system, right? Now, so neuron is the structure and functional unit of brain. So neurons has many things like dendrites, cell body, axon, nerve ending, main parts. Then there is myelin sheath and nodes of Ranvier also. Now sensory neurons, there are present in the what are they? They're present in the sensory organ, sensory neuron association, motor, the other types, correct? They transfer the information, the impulses. Impulses are nothing but that electrical information which is there in one neuron to another, or one neuron to another cell, right? That is what neuron. So that is transformed with the help of neurotransmitter like acetylcholine or even dopamine. All of these are the examples of neurotransmitters. Synapse is the junction, that's little bit of space between two neurons, like the nerve ending of one neuron and dendrite of the other neuron. The space between them is the known as synapse, right? Function of neuron include the transfer of impulses, control coordination between the organs of the body. So yes, students, we have completed with our today's session. Thank you so much for attending. I'll be seeing you very soon in upcoming videos as well. We are coming up more videos very fast on control coordination also. And then this is a very interesting chapter, right? So make sure you like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you didn't do it till now. Comment down if you have any doubts, and I would really appreciate for your feedbacks also. And I'll be seeing you very soon in upcoming videos where we'll study more interesting topics. Till then, everyone, thank you so much and take